Expansion.
For all those kind of like aspiring DJs and MCs and whatever. The song request thing and the give me a shout out thing and all of that. I mean,
I'm fine with the shout out thing. Like I think that's,
me too, 100%, man. If I get 25 one night, I'm happy. If I get 55 the next night, I'm even happier. Why? Because your job is to rock the crowd. Your job is to read the crowd. Your job is to provide a service to that crowd. So if that crowd is telling you, hey man, I'm here for a birthday, we want to hear rack, it's almost like the DJ's job is to
improvise.
Not only to improvise, but it's his job to rock the crowd, right? So if the crowd's telling you this is what we want to rock to, you seriously want to consider what it is that they're requesting for you to play.
That's right.
Having said that, I totally respect the DJs who kind of go, fucking song request, you know, because, but don't overdo it, other boys, because I think they kind of get a kick out of dissing people that song request. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
But we've had a few shocking ones at the club though, like
no.
the one that Sebi SMS about.
It's like just use your discretion in what's going to work and what's not. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, shout out, and then the DJ will play your song a little bit like throughout the course of the night. Blah, blah, blah. And by that point,
another thing we've done a lot over the years is someone requests like a real silly song by, say, Drake, and okay, I'm not going to play that one because it's too slow or too dark or whatever, but I'll play you another Drake track.
Yeah. That's
more suited.
But I tell you, the era that I loved was that point before R&B and hip hop was ever on the radio. It wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, and I know with the crew that I hung with, we used to go to the clubs to hear the DJ play tracks that you'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, generation showing our age here and probably the generational gap.
Yeah.
Slight gap. A lot of the crowd nowadays are experts because, you got things like Spotify,
of course,
YouTube,
of course,
all these avenues and things to hear stuff that, you may not necessarily hear on radio, which I kind of feel radio failed on. But growing up, like, you only got your song track list by hearing it at the club.
Yeah.
I remember one of the gigs I did, especially with DJs like Samurai, for example.
Yeah.
Man, dude, he used to kill it. He used to sit there. You didn't have Shazam back then either, so so you're sitting there and you're like wanting to steal it. But Sam was one of those dudes where he left his things blank. You know what I mean?
Well, and, DJs. Back in the day before the internet sort of digital revolution, DJs were the gods because they spent all that money
That's exactly right.
on white labels and all the latest things that will come out from the States. And really the only way to hear that shit was number one, to go to the club and hear them play.
That's right.
Or number two, to get their mixtapes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that's why we were lucky to see that generation of, let's call them whatever you want to call it,
Pioneers.
DJ, pioneering, whatever, where, and that's why I think DJs over the years have lost so much sway, because nowadays, you can just punch it in, download it, bang, you've got it.
That's right.
And there's not much exclusivity where there used to be, again, guys that will go to Anthem Records in the city and spend $1,000 a week.
Yeah, that's right.
On white labels, on remixes, on the latest thing that will come in fresh off the the boat from the States. And the other thing too is you wouldn't hear that shit on the radio anywhere sometimes for 6 months, hermano. I remember, man. I was in LA airport. I would have been about maybe 14 or something.
Yeah, wow.
And we had a long layover with my sister, no parents, right? So I shoplifted, right? The Crazy Sexy Cool TLC album on tape, cassette tape. And I also shoplifted, I went back a second time because it was like, we had hours. I went back a second time and shoplifted the Brandy I Wanna Be Down album. I can't remember what it was called. And I came back to Australia and I was playing that shit and no one had fucking heard. Everyone was like, wow, like all the boys were like, what the fuck? What is mad? And I'm telling you, man, I think it didn't come on the radio for at least 6 months. At least, maybe 3, but to me it felt like 6 months. Time was a lot slower in those days.